Welcome back. This is Mike Koscheck with another edition of Mr. K on Sports. Today I'm going to take a first look review of the 2020 Pittsburgh Steelers schedule. The schedule was just released on Thursday. I am not going to play the schedule game and predict wins and losses. I don't do that till right before the regular season starts in September. Too much can happen between now and then, especially with the uncertainty around COVID-19 and not knowing whether the NFL season will kick off on time. I'm going to be an optimist. I'm going to be like, if I were the captain of the Titanic, I would say we're just stopping for ice. I'm going to say that the NFL will be lucky enough to have a preseason, training camp along the way, and then start the season on time, hopefully in front of full stadiums and not in front of empty stadiums. So let's take a look at the Steelers' schedule. And week one right away is interesting. They get the first game of the doubleheader on Monday night. That is on September 14th. They will travel for a 7:15 kickoff at the New Jersey Meadowlands against the New York Football Giants. The Giants are a younger team. They are rebuilding a bit. They have a new coach. And I like the Steelers' chances here to get off to a good positive start with hopefully Big Ben Roethlisberger returning from injury. Week two, the Steelers will have their home opener at Heinz Field. They will welcome in an AFC opponent, the Denver Broncos. The Broncos, another team in transition. Last year, toward the end of the season, they started a new quarterback, a young quarterback, Drew Lock. He looked pretty good. But the Steelers usually fare pretty well against young quarterbacks. So an optimistic look at the home opener getting off to a positive start. Week three, the Steelers will play another AFC opponent, that being the Houston Texans. The Texans last year made the playoffs. They made some moves this offseason, which were a bit head-scratching. I see them as a weakened team. So the Steelers have a couple back-to-back home games, very winnable. Now, coaches like to divide the season into fourths. And to start the season, the last game, the fourth game, the last game of the first quarter of the season, the Steelers will be on the road taking on another AFC playoff team from last year, the Tennessee Titans. The Titans are a tough blue-collar team. They usually play pretty well at home. This will be a tough test for the Steelers. Week five, the Steelers will welcome to Heinz Field cross-state rivals from Pennsylvania, the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are a team that disappointed a bit last year. They still have a lot of talent. They're not very far removed from being the Super Bowl champions. And, of course, the Pennsylvania championship will be on the line there, so it should be a good game. Week six is the first of the interdivision games. In the AFC North, the Steelers will welcome the Cleveland Browns to Heinz Field. I believe there's still bad blood brewing from last year's debacle. So it's always an entertaining game and a rivalry game. Week seven, the Steelers will continue in the AFC North. They will travel to Baltimore to take on the AFC North champions, the Baltimore Ravens. And this is always a bloodbath. It will be a big game. It will be a tough game. And there's always a lot of bumps and bruises that come out of that game. So that's why week eight, being the bye week, is ideal. Coaches usually think it's optimal to have the bye week in the middle of the season. This year it falls snap dag right in the middle and after the Baltimore game, which should be always a physical game. So they rest up. They have 2 weeks to prepare, then to go on the road to end the first half of the season at the Dallas Cowboys. Again, this will be a tough game. It will be at Jerry World. It'll be a 4:25 start. So a lot of the national audience will tune in. The Steelers, other than the opener against the Giants at 7:15, have all 1 o'clock kickoffs up till this Week 9 clash with the Cowboys. Week 10, the Steelers then will travel, they will stay at home at Heinz Field. They'll be back at home for a 1 o'clock kickoff against the AFC North rival Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are a team, again, rebuilding. They had the number 1 overall draft choice this past season and selected a quarterback, Joe Burrow, out of LSU. It'll be interesting to see how he fares against the Steelers. Week 11, the Steelers will travel probably their longest road trip of the year down to Florida to take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars are another team, I believe, that's been weakened in recent years. They're rebuilding a bit, and it is, again, a season where the Steelers don't have a lot of long road trips, so it's good that they have a team that I believe they can handle for this one. Week 12, this is very interesting. A short week. Thursday, November 25th, Thanksgiving, the evening game, 8:20 NBC against none other than the Baltimore Ravens. This should be a bloodbath again. This should be an outstanding game. Don't eat too much turkey so you don't sleep through this one. Should be a hard-hitting affair on Thanksgiving. It's the third of the 3 Thanksgiving games in the NFL for that day. Finally, on Sunday, December 6th, Week 13, the Steelers will return home to face the Washington Redskins from the NFC East. The Redskins are another rebuilding team with a young quarterback. I like the Steelers' chances there. Week 14 will be a tough one. The Steelers will have to travel up to Buffalo to take on the Bills, who were a playoff team last year. It is a Sunday night affair, 8:20 kickoff for NBC. The Bills will be sure to be fired up. Their fans are already fired up because they have 4 primetime games this season. So that will be a tough one. Week 15, the Steelers will be on Monday night, another primetime game. They'll travel to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals, 8:15 on ESPN. I'm sure the jungle will be fired up for that one. Week 16 should be a pivotal game. I believe it'll have playoff implications for both teams as the Steelers will take on the Indianapolis Colts at Heinz Field. The Colts, I believe, have improved themselves this offseason. They acquired veteran quarterback Phillip Rivers. This will be a battle between Rivers and Roethlisberger, who were in the same draft years ago and are grizzled veteran quarterbacks with playoff implications. Should be an excellent game. And finally, Week 17, to conclude the season, this will be a 2021 game, January 3rd. The Steelers will travel up to Cleveland to take on the Browns again. My crystal ball, an ideal crystal ball, tells me that hopefully the Steelers will have a playoff spot wrapped up by this time. They'll be able to rest Big Ben, and this game could be Mason Rudolph's revenge. Give Mason the start at Cleveland to throw for 300 yards in a victory, and again, being optimistic, be a great way to end the season of the 2020 schedule. So some things that stick out to me in this schedule, 4 primetime games, 3 of those on the road, so those will be tough. Playing the NFC East again and playing the AFC South would, again, lend itself well, I think, to the Steelers, not having long traveling road trips. The Steelers have not fared very well on the West Coast in recent years, so having a shorter distance of travel, I think, is an advantage. Playing 3 of the last 4 games on the schedule on the road could be tough. That was the same case last season. They didn't finish very strongly. Hopefully they will finish more strongly in 2020. So again, first look at the Steelers' schedule. First impressions, not going to play the schedule game. We'll do that as the season draws near in September. But it does have its advantages, I think, as far as the Steelers go with the schedule for this coming season. So until next time, this is Mr. K on Sports signing off.